Kia ora everyone and very welcome. My name is Fahima McGregor and I am the founder of Informed Impact, a continuing professional development initiative where we partner with leaders across sectors to amplify their voices on innovative leadership and human-centric transformation. Through this series, our goal is simple to bring forward conversations that connect research with practice, helping professionals and organizations strengthen the way they lead, decide, and adapt in an ever changing environment. Today, we are privileged to have Ali Bitendi, a PhD researcher from AUT University, whose work focuses on human-centric change management and how research insights can be translated into practical framework for organizational transformation. Ali will share his perspective on why so many digital transformation initiatives fail and how applying evidence-based, people-focused practices can lead to more sustainable outcomes. A few notes on our housekeeping. Please keep your microphones on mute during the session and feel free to use the Q&A chat box for questions. We will have time for the reflections towards the end. And if you would prefer to speak rather than type, you will have the opportunity to unmute yourself and join the discussion later. And lastly, at the end of the session, we will be sharing a link to express your interest in our complementary change management workshop. Submitting your interest allows us to select participants and arrange the upcoming sessions. So please don't miss this part. The form will remain live only for 24 hours after today's event. So now it's my pleasure to hand over to Ali. Thank you, Ali, for your support and your time.
Yeah, thank you, Fahime, for your great introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session on why digital transformations fail and how to lead change that actually lasts. I'm Ali Bidhendi, a PhD researcher at Auckland University of Technology, and also I'm a business consultant on transformations. And what I'm sharing today comes from several years of research that's been published in peer-reviewed journals and tested in real-world organizations. Let's start with a little bit of background. In the fast-changing landscape of technology, we often see that major tech companies are shaping their development strategies around emerging trends. You must have heard about strategies like mobile first, cloud first, API first, and more recently, AI first, which means considering, for example, AI as the ultimate strategic priority, overshadowing other potential directions that organizations may have. On the other hand, the disruptive nature of technology, particularly digital technologies, has demonstrated their ability to transform not only our lifestyles, but also our mental paradigms, our ways of thinking, our values, social and individual interactions. However, what tends to be neglected or at least underestimated in the technological realm is the profound impact of us, profound impact of human on shaping the present and our future world. The important point here is that organizations are built based on human and their collective skills. When organizations make technology, they're based on, I mean, when they make technology the basis of their development approach, they may find a characteristic alien, which can make them vulnerable or even identityless, especially in the time of rapid technological advancement and fierce competition in the market. Let me share with you some shocking realities. We have a 16% of success rate for digital transformation. That means 84% are failing completely. And in the infrastructure sector specifically, like construction industry, only 4% make it to the finish line. But here's what's most concerning. We are creating a culture of fear. Workers believe that digital transformation will replace them. They keep asking, will I need to be reskilled again? What if a robot takes over my tasks? And when people fear their livelihood, they resist change. In the meanwhile, of the 1.3 trillion US dollars that was spent on 2019 on these initiatives, more than $900 billion went waste. Uh, and think about that for a moment. Despite billions of investments globally in digital transformation, despite all the sophisticated technologies available, all the consultants and frameworks and methodologies, still 84% fail. And the problem is almost never about the technology itself. It's about something else entirely, and that's what we're going to see today. Uh, Before we dive into the topic, I want to share with you the journey that led me here to choosing this topic. In 2020, I joined the Iran Digital Government Program, which aimed to connect all the ministries under one national digital system. It was a massive program, but I quickly realized something that the biggest challenges weren't technical at all. They were cultural. People, culture, and leadership made the difference between success and failure. And that experience really shaped how I viewed transformation, not as a technology issue, but a leadership and human one. And when I shifted to the construction sector, I saw the same challenges, but multiplied. So unlike other industries, construction is temporary, fragmented, multi-layered, new teams, new systems, new contracts for every project. So if digital transformation is already tough in a stable organization, it's even more complex in construction. So I thought if I could address the issues in the construction industry, that would be much easier to apply the same concept, but customized in other industries, because construction industry has its own challenges and the other industries' challenges as well. And that's what motivated me to study digital transformation from people's perspective. And I also realized that transformations need a structure, a process that helps leaders move through our uncertainties, not just a software rollout. So we need a change management framework specifically designed for this purpose. As I think most of you know, we have a lot of different change management model in the market, from ADCAR, um, 8-step change management model, McKinsey 7S model, blah, blah. But there isn't any customized change management model for digital transformation implementation in construction. So also there are some challenges that organizational leaders are, as the owner of the change, are facing during this journey. So what I found is the lack of a comprehensive guideline for construction organization leaders for digital transformation implementation. And over the past few years, I conducted research across 5 countries. I started in New Zealand and then expanded to Australia, the UK, the Denmark. And in the first phase, I interviewed with 20 senior organizational leaders, people like chief information officer, CIO, technical directors, and general managers, all with minimum 5 years of leadership experience, and then to extract their challenges. And then I conducted another rounds uh, to extract the solutions to address those challenges. So it was 4 rounds of interviews with them and data collection. And finally, I spent 6 intensive weeks in Chile working directly with 8 construction SMEs and conducting site visits, um, more than 40 interviews across various organizational roles, and implementing my guideline in through their organizations. And we have still weekly meetings to check their progress, their challenges, and the adjustment to their roadmap that is specifically designed for them. And let's see today's agenda. Today's session is structured in 4 main parts. First, we'll be examining why transformations actually fail based on what industry leaders told me. And second, we'll look at the hidden pitfalls, the things that derail organizations that aren't obvious until it's too late. And third, which is the heart of our today's session, I'll walk you through the complete 10-step change management model, human-centric change management model, that emerged from this project. And finally, I'll share evidence-based strategies from my Chilean fieldwork action research, showing how organizations are actually applying these concepts. So let's dive into the first question. Why do transformations fail? Through my interviews, I discovered a lot of challenges, but these are the most dominant one. I discovered that 88% of leaders identified resistance to change as the most significant barrier. 3/4 of experienced leaders across 4 different countries, Australia, New Zealand, UK, and Denmark, all pointed the same thing. The deeper issue, and this is uh, where resistance comes from, is about institutional knowledge. One of my participants said that the biggest challenge is that the institutional knowledge that's in people's head and now being documented in systems. You have workers, and this is particularly true in construction, who have been doing their jobs for 20, 30 years. They have everything memorized. They don't need to look anything up. So when you introduce new digital system, you're not asking them to learn new software. You're fundamentally changing how they work. That's why we call it transformation projects. It's not just minor change. It's transform how everyone works. So you're asking them to document and formalize knowledge that's they have been carrying on their heads for decades. That's not a technology challenge. That's completely a human challenge. Another thing is lack of um, digital skills. The transition from internalized knowledge to documented system presents particular challenge for older workers who have developed work habit over decades of service. Early career employees like me, for example, or those with less than 5 years, showed minimal resistance and actually demonstrated adaptation enthusiasm, especially the Z generation, which are the tech savvy. One of my participants explained in that way that it's harder for people in their 50s or 60s um, for people than for people in their 20s or 30s, not because they can't learn, but because they have more invested in the old way of doing things. And another participant said that you have two problems. One is the age gap and the ability to adapt, which is a bias. And the second is that the ability to learn, which is harder when you're a bit older than you're younger. So it's like a learning languages. When you're a young child, multiple languages come easily, right? When you're older, it's more difficult. This isn't about capability, it's about a psychological investment in existing methods. And another major problem is cost of investments. Digital transformation requires substantial upfront investment in complete software systems that cannot be partially implemented. For example, you want to implement an ERP system, you have to implement at once. You cannot say that, okay, let's try minor and then we'll expand. No, you should pay for the whole software at once. And given industry's typically low profit margins between 5 to 6%, organizations must generate significant additional revenue just to break even on their technology investment. And let me share something that one of my participants told that completely reframed how I understood this problem. This was a CIO with extensive experience in a large-scale transformation here in New Zealand. He said that if you give birth to an elephant, make sure you can afford to feed it. He went on to explain that these transformation projects take many years. They require sustained investment. You have to weather the storm uh, through business cycles, economic ups and downs, market change, and leadership transition. And finally, another problem is that most of the organizations tend to treat digital transformation implementation like business and as usual projects. They don't dedicate a dedicated change management or project manager specifically for these projects. They think that it is another job that they should do next to the other things that they do, which is the reason of the failure. And here is the challenges that the general challenges that organizational leaders are facing while implementing digital transformation. But what I've done is that after I developed the 10-step change management model, I asked those senior leaders to say their challenges through each step of this change management, which is a lot of challenges. And you can find it online. It is published, or you can find it on my website. I put it there. Resistant to change, cost of investment, lack of digital skills, lack of leadership understanding and buying, compatibility conflicts for joint ventures, getting people on board, ROI calculation. It's very hard to justify the cost of implementation, change fatigue, top-down implementation, and things like that. Now let's move to something equally important, hidden pitfalls. These are challenges that leaders consistently miss because they're not obvious at the beginning of the transformation. They only appear later. The first one is lack of genuine leadership buy-in. Now you might think that this is obvious. Of course you need leadership support. But here's what my research showed. 75% of participants in my research identified it as the critical problem. But it's not about whether leadership says they support the initiative. It's about the quality and depth of that support. If your leadership team shows up to the kickoff meeting, give a nice speech about the importance of digital transformation, and then disappears, that's not a support, that's superficial support. If leaders can talk about what technology you're implementing, but cannot explain why it matters to the people doing the work, that's again another problem. The warning side here is that if your leadership can articulate the technology roadmap, but can't articulate the human impact and the organizational cultural change required, you're already in trouble. Because it's not about just ROI calculation or how much profit we can gain. It's about the impact of the change impact of this journey. And the second pitfall is resource allocation imbalance. In my interviews, my participants mentioned financial constraints or challenges in understanding the investment nature. But it's not just about having enough money. It's about the timing mismatch between investment and returns. One of my Chilean participants explained it perfectly. She said that understanding that it is a future investment and not a short-term one, since the result will not be seen immediately. This creates enormous pressure. Another aspect of this pitfall is that organizations will invest millions in software license and infrastructure, but then they allocate minimal amounts to change management, to training, to human support, and their well-being. And I saw this repeatedly. For example, here in New Zealand, one of the companies that I interviewed with, they said that they spent $2 million on technology and allocated only $50,000 for change management and consultancy. And I told them that the ratio almost guaranteed a failure. The hidden part is that most leaders don't realize imbalance until they're months into the implementation and wondering why the adoption rates are so low, why people do not working with the technology and they are working with the older methods they had in mind. And the third pitfall is something I call change management fatigue. And this is a killer for multi-year transformation. One of my participants described their experience that everyone's excited for year one, year two, but year three, people are getting tired. They are working weekends, they are doing unit testing, they can't wait to get out. Can you picture that? The project starts with enthusiasm, momentum, energy. Year one is exciting. Year two, people are still engaged, working hard, but year three, people are exhausted. They have been uh, they have been juggling their regular work plus transformation work. There's no end in their sight. And the warning side is that if you don't have rotation plans, if you don't have recovery time built into your transformation plan, if you're running people at their 110% of capacity for a year, you're setting for a mid-project collapse. And when your implementation team burns out in year three of a 5-year transformation, that's when projects die. And the fourth pitfall is what I call human value integration gap. My analysis showed that 4 out of 5 leaders across New Zealand, Australia, UK, and Denmark identified challenges in connecting technological implementations with core organizational values and human-centric principles. Organizations view digital transformation as implementing a tool set rather than organizational culture change. They think we are getting new software, we are automating processes, we are improving efficiency, we're going to gain a lot of money. We'll be the first, we'll be hitting all of our competitors, things like that. What they miss is we are changing how our people work, how they collaborate, how they contribute, and what gives them meaning in their work. It's about making employees feel they're contributing to the betterment of the company as the business case. The warning side is that if you can talk about your technology ROI, return of investment, if you can show projected efficiency gains, cost savings, but you cannot explain how this transformation enhances human capabilities or align with your organizational values, you are missing the fundamental foundational element. And this creates a situation where people comply with the new technology but don't commit to it. They use it because they have to, not because they see it makes them better at their job or contributes to something meaningful. So, and here is the change management model that I talked about. We have talked about why transformations fail, the hidden pitfalls. Now let's move to solutions. Based on all this research, the interviews, analysis, field work, I developed a human-centric digital transformation. And this framework have been validated through my Delphi study with industry leaders and tested through my field work in Chile. And it's been peer-reviewed and published in well-known journals. And here's what makes it different from other change management approaches that you can find in the market. Every single step directly addresses specific challenges that come from practitioners. Here's the complete framework. It consists of 10 integrated steps arranged in the wheels. Each step builds on the other, and they're all interconnected. And I'm going to walk you through each step. First of all, it has 3 strategic phases. Phase 1 is strategic initialization, which contains 3 activities, 3 steps. And under each step, there are several tasks. The phase 2 is operational transformation, which contains 4 activities or 4 steps. And lastly, the last phase is sustainable integration. The strategic initialization, this initial phase lays the foundation for successful transformation by establishing clear direction and understanding organizational readiness. During this phase, leaders develop and communicate a compelling vision for change, assess current capabilities, and establish support structure for the transformation journey. And in the second phase, operational transformation, this focuses on the transformation while ensuring effective engagement and adoption. It includes activities that drive the actual implementation of the change. And the sustainable integration phase, this final phase focuses on embedding the change and ensuring long-term sustainability. And it includes mechanisms for monitoring progress, integrating new values, and reinforcing cultural change. Let's go through the steps or activities. Step one addresses strategic vision and communication. This requires authentic leadership commitment where leaders genuinely understand the gap between current and desired state. It means communicating not just what technology you are implementing, but why it matters to the people who will use it. The step two is organizational competencies assessment. This isn't just about technical skills. You need to understand where expertise currently lives in your organization, what people are already capable of, and where genuine skill gaps exist. In my Chilean research, in my Chilean fieldwork, and this revealed that site supervisors had incredible project management capabilities not captured by any system. And step three is well-being and support structure right before you go to the execution phase. Remember the fatigue challenge we discussed? This step builds in rotation plans, recovery time, and support structure. You need bench strength so people can take breath during the multi-year transformations. Before you start the transformation, you should have a clear plan on this for your people's well-being. They should feel that you are here to support them during this journey, not replace them. And now we are in the operational phase. Step four is resource allocation. A participant told me that the financial and human capital have to be allocated right up front and not on a part-time basis. You identify them before you start, not halfway through. It's very similar to building a building. You have got to have everybody worked out before you even start. And step five is training comprehensively. My research showed that 85% identified resistance stemming from fear and anxiety. And what is the solution? One of my participants said that you cannot do one size fits for all. You have to develop training segmentation profiles that segments your workforce and the type of the styles that will work with that workforce. And step six is where we actually select and implement the technology. But by this point, you have done the foundational work. You're selecting the technology that enhance human capabilities and meet actual needs identified through your assessment, not one that replace them, one that enhance their capabilities. And step seven emphasizes employees' involvement and engagement. One of my participants said that the real issue here is communicate, communicate, communicate. On large, diverse digital platforms, you need to communicate both within the program and outside of the program. You need town halls, weekly meetings, newsletters, everything you can do to keep communicating the reason that we are doing this. Then they can understand that they are engaging in the betterment of the organization. And step eight establishes performance monitoring and feedback mechanism. And this is critical. You must measure both productivity metrics and human outcomes. If efficiency goes up, but morale goes down, you're implementing wrong. Both must improve together. because we are implementing a human-centric digital transformation. That is exactly the difference between Industry 4.0 and Industry 5.0. And step 9 is value integration programs. This ensures changes align with organizational values. As one of my participants said that it's about making employees feel as if they are contributing to the betterment of the company. This creates meaning beyond just using new technology, and you should adapt it. You should embed it into the organizational value. And the step 10, which is the last one, is cultural reinforcement, embedding changes into how your organization actually works. This ensures transformation isn't just project that ends, the transition from project to process to operation. You celebrate success and make new practices the organization norm. And then I had the privilege to test and refine my model and my guideline in Chile through a participation and partnership with Corfo, the Chile's national innovation agency, to support SMEs in developing digital transformation roadmap. It's a governmental program, working hands-on with 8 SMEs across various sectors. We implemented tailored digital transformation. This is the picture that I took when I was in the airplane from Oakland to Santiago. And this is the Pablo Neruda's house. He sat here and he wrote those very beautiful writings. One of his poets is Podrán cortar todas las flores, pero no podrán detener la primavera, which means they can cut all the flowers, but they cannot stop the spring. And these beautiful sentences, once I read it, reminds me resilience and irreplaceable spirits of people. Technology may be advancing rapidly, but it's people, their idea, their passion, their values that creates true lasting transformation, not soulless technology. And I was in construction sites, in planning meetings, watching real transformation succeed and fail, watching sophisticated technology from IoT sensors, VR, AR, workstation beam, and many different digital tools that fail. Some of them failed. And I also conducted a seminar, like a focus group discussion with different organizations in Chile and local governments. Yeah, I can't speak Spanish, but I had a live translator with me. And it wasn't just about research and business. I had found there Chilean food, Chilean wine, really a beautiful country. You can't miss it. And here is the Chilean industry context, the challenges. You can see, for example, resistance to change, communication challenges, significant skill diversity, resource constraint, quite similar with what we have learned in international context. But what is the difference? My cross-contextual analysis comparing the Chilean experiences with my earlier research worldwide revealed something important. Core challenges show universal pattern, as we see, but effective strategies require context-specific adaptation. What works for large international firms in Auckland may need significant adjustment for a family-owned SME in Valparaiso, Chile. And the 10-step framework applied universally, but how you implement each step must be adapted to your specific context, your organization size, your industry sector, your cultural context, and things like that. For example, um, I want to show you the difference between Chilean context and international large-scale firms. The Chilean organizations often adopt more informal relationship-based approaches to change management, relying on personal connections. And they tend to use incremental approaches versus more comprehensive global frameworks, emphasis on basic infrastructure needs and fundamental technologies. And Chilean organizations often focus on short-term implementation timeframe compared to international counterparts because they want to see the quick wins first, and then uh, they want to do the next step. And in Chilean context, there's the absence of formal ROI calculation or business plan for digital transformation initiatives. So that's why they didn't know what they want from digital transformation, what they should expect. And then they couldn't measure whether they fail or succeed. And let's see the evidence-based strategy, some of them here. And most striking findings was what I called adaptive implementation planning. Chilean SME, unlike larger organizations I studied, didn't attempt comprehensive system-wide transformation. Instead, they employed highly flexible project-based adoption strategies. So let me give you a specific example. One residential construction company wanted to implement BIM, the Building Information Modeling, rather than doing full design integration immediately. So they started with BIM visualization capabilities on mobile devices just for client presentation. They showed client 3D models on their future homes on tablets during the site visits, and this was low risk, high value, and clients loved it. It gave immediate return. And then once they had success there and had built confidence and capability, they expanded to full design integration, which we are working on currently. And this pragmatic prioritization of high value, low risk implementation allowed gradual capability building without overwhelming existing operations. And the second strategy I observed in Chile was collaborative knowledge sharing network, which is very interesting. Very interesting. This was fascinating because it was so different from what I'd see elsewhere. In Chile, multiple SMEs developed informal arrangements where organizations with more advanced digital capabilities provided mentoring and training support to less developed peers. I mean, competitors were helping each other. One company that had successfully implemented a project management system spent time helping three other companies set up similar system. Why would they do that? Two reasons. First, there was a recognition that the entire sector benefits when everyone adopts better practices. Second, and more particularly, when your subcontractors and partners are digitally capable, your own projects run smoother. This collaborative approach contrasted sharply with the competitive individual organization I observed in Australia and New Zealand. They just see each other as competitors, nothing more. And the third strategy that provides effective um, uh, cases was the communication tailoring that I mentioned earlier. But let me give you a specific breakdown. For company owners and management, successful implementers focused communication on business outcomes. You should tell them what are the business outcomes, competitive advantages in bidding, ability to take on larger projects. And for example, for architects or engineers, you should talk about the technical stuff, emphasizing on uh, workflow improvements, tool capability, integration with existing software they already use. And for example, for field workers or site administrators, communication should focus on practical, immediate benefits. For example, improved access to information on mobile devices, reduce manual data entry, better coordination with office staff. You see, same technology, same implementation, but completely different messaging depending on the audience. Uh, so how do you actually start applying this? I know that it was a short talk, but let me give you 4 specific steps. First step, should conduct an honest current state assessment. Where are you really at? Not where you wish you were or where you tell yourself you are, but actually, which of the 10 challenge areas, which of the 10 steps are most critical for your specific situation? Second, you should build genuine leadership understanding and commitment. It's very important. Not just sponsorship, not just budget approval, but deep understanding of the human-centric change required. And third, you should develop your segmented communication strategies. How you will explain this transformation differently to different audience. You should have a strategy for that to keep communicating over the journey. And fourth, start small with pilot that can demonstrate value quickly, while especially uh, in the governmental institutions. You should demonstrate the value quickly while building confidence and capability. In that way, you can easily justify the project and the money that you want to be approved. And that's me. Just before we close, I wanted to mention briefly how I work with organizations who want to apply this framework. I offer several types of support. First, I'm currently focusing on offering ongoing advisory support throughout your transformation journey. What I'm doing now, I'm the advisor of the Corfu, the government agency in Chile, and I'm the consultant of 4 of those 8 companies in Chile. We have weekly online meetings uh, to see how their progress, what are their challenges, how they can adapt, and we continuously adapt the roadmap that we designed earlier. And yeah, I can develop customized implementation strategies, taking the 10-step framework and adapting to your specific context. Second, I deliver leadership workshops to build understanding and commitment at the executive level. Third, I provide change management training for your implementation team. If any of this interests you, I'd be happy to discuss your specific situation. And in 1st and 2nd of December this year, I'll be delivering a 45-minute workshop on human-centric change management for digital and AI era. It's an interactive discussion and workshop for who are attending GDI 2025 with the partnership of BECA, one of the largest organizations in New Zealand. If you want to attend, you should register at the conference. I'd love to see you also there. And also, you can scan this QR code to express your interest for the change management workshop. If you want us to deliver a workshop for your organizations, we can talk more about it. It's just, please note that this opportunity is available for just the next 24 hours. And submit your interest using this form. And that's all. Thank you again for being part of today's session and for being part of the Informed Impact series. And special thanks to Dr. Fahime for organizing this event and creating this platform for evidence-based insights and uh, network connections. Thank you.
Thank you, Ali. Really appreciate your presentation, your time, and your contribution. So if we can go back to that complimentary offer that we have got the QR code for a few seconds, if we can wait there, just I will
Sure,
add
I
a
leave it
few
here.
notes that this is the complimentary offer for the organizations. They are interested to receive this change management workshop. Is going to be a joint effort in between Delta and Ali. The framework that he built on the human-centric change management. There is no cost to that. It is part of the journey that we are trying to not proving because already it has been validated. It is more to create awareness and knowledge about the Industry 5.0. We are a bit behind because too much focus on the change management from the lens of other approaches has been growing in the market for years. And what we want is to bringing the integrated change management knowledge into the organization. So yeah, now we can grab any questions. Is that Prashant? Please go
No,
ahead.
more than a question, I was curious to know about this workshop, and it was not opening till a while ago, but it's just open now. So I will just fill the form and then come back to you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So if you scan the form, definitely it should allow you to uh, just fill the form and letting us know the conditions on your organizations, on your situations, and what is your interest about. So we have selected opportunities. When we receive the express of interest, then we assess and we will be in touch with whoever submitted the form. Thank you. And yes, Melinda, that's great to see you here. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks, Ali, for sharing that information. Just one question, because it's quite interesting. You mentioned about that Chile experience where the competitor are helping each other. Do you think that model might work in Australia and New Zealand? If yes, how? Or if no, what can be done? Thanks.
Yeah, that. Thank you very much first for attending to this event and for your great questions. Yes, I think they should. Why not? So we are seeing that in Chile, in another context, it is working perfectly. They're all together want to boost their community. They want to make the customer think digital, work digital. So if the whole sector, the whole industry is becoming digital, then the customers think digital as well. Also, as I said, they have a lot of subcontractors. So you are going digital, but you have to send the forms manually to your subcontractors. Why? Because they don't have digital tools. So in Australia and New Zealand, I think at least industry should try to help their trusted subcontractors to see the quick wins, and then they can see that there's nothing to be stolen, because technology is not the competitive advantage here. Everyone can implement technology. Maybe some of them are sooner or later, but the important point here is that who should work with this technology? It's us, it's people, right? So when we boost each other, when we try to have everyone working in digital, so that's competitive advantage for our industry. That's how can I say, that's a boost in revenue, right? Did I answer your question?
Um, Part of it, but I'm just wondering why that concept is not, because there is a fear, because still that concept is not working here. I am in a SME market sector, but
Yeah,
again, there is always a competition, there is always fear. so that they will take our customer or they will take our technology. So from my point of view, I'm trying to understand what can be done. While it can be beneficial from the customer point of view, can be beneficial from business point of view, but what are the steps which need to be taken?
Yeah, I think the solution is for the government. I didn't do research on this area, that why here SMEs or other organizations are not doing the same that Chilean industry are doing currently. But what can I see here? What I can see here is that the solution is for the government to help and support these kind of initiatives. There is a strong program behind what I said in Chile.
Okay.
It is funded. I mean, the organizations there, they don't pay me. The government's paying me. It's $300 million of investment that the government say that we want our SMEs to be digital, to implement digital transformation. So maybe in that way, they reduce the fear of, how can I say, the competitive and things like that. That's what came into my mind. And
Okay.
I think
Thank you. Thanks.
the audience here can share their thoughts as well, or Fahime, if you think.
Yeah, so with the situation, Milind is based in Australia, and yeah, he is almost, I would say that, like a sector lead for the SMEs in Sydney. So that is something that his passion is about knowledge sharing and building the community, supporting other small, medium-sized businesses. But yeah, both of us, we totally enjoy the journey of the knowledge sharing, but we know that there is still amount of the fears or the resistance to collaborate with one another, just because majority of the SMEs, they think that, okay, if they join these sort of the forums, they're going to lose their IP. But they don't yet know that the IP, if it's not implemented and executed tonight, within 24 hours, may get quite outdated, because we have got the AI power these days. Yeah. So I think the point you raised around government support is quite great initiative, but I'm not sure that I never heard we have been having such a support across New Zealand, at least I would say. And the other thing is not just the SMEs by itself. I would rather to say the small, medium-sized businesses that they serve government projects, they serve the big corporate projects, because some of the consultants, some of the small firms, that they could have even major impact in terms of the outcome comparing to the big fours. Yeah, their voice are not heard, and that is where big corporate, possibly they need to support their consultants, they need to support the advisors or the SMEs that they are serving their requirements, to be seen and to come together to share this sort of the knowledge and bringing the collective impact for the entire economic situation. So what I do usually see through it is another change management journey, Ali. Yeah. So by itself, it's about the mindset and the culture in the
Yeah,
market.
indeed, it is.
Yeah, because we need to see one another as part of the like a different part of the chain, and how we are impacting one another. So maybe through that lens of the change management, how we can influence the market and how we can influence the network. That is where we can start another initiative.
Yeah, and if we have any PhD students here who just started, that would be a topic that we fully support.
Yes, definitely. Okay, any other question? Do you want to maybe go back to your change management framework, Ali, in your slides? And just as a reminder that if anyone has got any question on this integrated model.
Let me tell you how I designed this first, while you are thinking about your questions. What I've done is I extracted 10 change management model existing in the market, and I extracted all of their activities. On the other hand, I extracted more than 400 human-centric principles, and with an advanced network analysis, I ended up with these 10 10-step human-centric change management model, because it's now embedded with human-centric principle. And then, with having it on hand, I went to interview with senior leaders, and then I tried to adjust the steps. For example, well-being and support structure advanced was in 9 steps. But based on the best practices that the leaders that I interviewed, they said that no, it should be in the initial strategic initial phase. Before you start your journey, you should think about the well-being and support structure, and then with a strong plan, you go and implement. And yeah, and any question for any specific stage or?
Yes.
Ali, I have a question, or this is absolutely great. This change wheel, what you have here, like incorporating all of the usually I'm familiar with the ADKAR model and a little bit of change digital transformations that I've been part of. Now, usually change management, when it comes, it is very difficult to get in the leaders buy-in, as you've been like trying to talk about it. Now, when you presented this model to your the leaders, right? So what has been their feedback in terms of what has been their buy-in, especially in Australia and New Zealand demographics per se?
Yeah, they also were familiar with different change management models, and I should say that most of them used ADKAR, as you mentioned. But when they see this model, they said that it's common sense that we see that we should take these steps to be human-centered. And for reducing the challenge of leadership buy-in, they said that we must have a storytelling about the successful of and the importance of implementing this kind of project by showing them, for example, success stories of different case studies, or how it contributes to our strategic vision of the organizations, how it helps us to be, how can I say, more profitable. And then after we get their buy-in, after we get their attention, then we can talk about the human centricity aspect of this and adjust it and adapt it to the core value of our organizations and people that want to work in this project.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, part of it. I'm more looking into information as to because how organizations are seeing change management itself, because they don't allocate much of the time or effort or the funds for change management, and let alone when we present, it takes time for them to absorb all of this information, and then you start implementing it as part of your the process or the transformation, whatever that we are planning. So that's where the question came in across. So it all depends upon the leaders, how important it is for them to understand that the people side of the change is also important for them, and how do they how are they looking at it to implement this 10-step model to achieve the desired state that they want to get into. Yeah, so that's where ideally I would want any leader to look into.
Yeah, that's a fair point, because I should say that they didn't know that they need human centricity or dedicated change management until they saw the results, they saw the failure, until they experienced the failure, the previous failures. So now, this is why I interviewed them, because most of them had the failure experience already. So now they saw the challenges, where the challenge came from. Remember the organizations I talked about who invested $2 million in technology and 50K in change management? Yeah, they saw the result, and now they understand that this is important. This is what we have missed. And based on their experience, based on their failure and some of their successful experience, we designed this. That's why I said that this is practical, or kind of best practice, or good practice at least.
And I hope you don't mind me, Ali, just on that point, Yamuna, on your question, I would say that majority of the framework that these days been implemented, they have been taken for the sake of a specific transformation project to be applied, rather than strategically to be part of the DNA of the organizations. So organizations these days, they are in the space of never ending changes. So they should have a strategic model to adapt in their strategic framework. So that is where this type of the framework, these 10 steps, is reminding them where and how to integrate in their strategy, making sure that is bringing the strategic alignment. Doesn't matter that how many changes are happening in the organization, and bringing that alignment in the strategic roadmap, and of course equipping leadership with a new lens to look at the change management, of course, is going to make them more powerful in terms of how to lead the change. So ADCAR, or even the golden triangle model of the transformation, which is about the people, processes, and systems, what usually happen, unfortunately, we end up to have a change management group if we have any budget. So they allocate budget to look after the people separately, to look after the technology separately, and the processes separately. But what's going to happen at the intersection of those areas? So each corners left alone under the hand of separate change agents. We no longer want to go that way, because we couldn't create any success. It's been not only in the digital transformation, a simple thing like a data-driven transformation, business intelligence adoption in the organization, less than 30%, less than 40%, they created success. So that is a quite significant a stat to remind the leaders that it's time to think about changing something and adopting and implementing in their strategy roadmap. And the other thing is considering the Generation Z and their impact in the transformation. It's massive things to consider, and majority of the leaders these days, from the behavioral perspective, they are focusing to understand that how organization needs to be set up for the future leaders from Generation Z, and of course the transformation models needs to be adopted for the purpose of the future leaders as well. We will grab another question. Achi, sorry, Yamuna, just I realized that Achi has got her hands up. Yeah. Please go ahead.
I'll go for him. Thank you so much, Ali, for this interesting presentation. I really love your model. I was just thinking you talked about 4 pitfalls at the very beginning of the presentation and how this model would address those pitfalls. Especially, I'm keen about understanding the change management fatigue, which is very much relevant to whatever the projects that we are up and running these days as well.
Yeah. You know, that's another very interesting question and point. Sometimes we consider change management fatigue or change fatigue as the resistance to change. We think that people resist to change because their fear to be replaced, or they don't want to be reskilled again, or they want to just work with the same method that they're doing. But no, it's not. The fatigue sometimes causes resistance. So, for example, imagine that we are starting to implement digital transformation, a project which usually between 3 to 5 years. And then in between, we bring a lot of system changes, a lot of workflow changes. For example, I should, how can I say? I want to, I'm looking for an example. I want to, for example, take a leave. And then they said to me, no, you should write to your manager, and then manager can approve your leave. And 1 week later, they said that, no, you should put it on the system. Email him, and then he'll email you back, and then approve. A week later, no, you should enter it in the ERP system. You should go and then take a request, and then it's go through the HR, and then HR see how many leaves that remains for you, and then blah, blah. And it's really annoying. It's frustrating to see a lot of changes of different processes and different workflows. So when you are implementing digital transformation, which is, as I said, it's not a change, it's a transformation. And it's really frustrating. You should be mindful about how many changes per year you should take for through your organization. If you are, for example, bringing 2 or 3 major changes per year, you should know that it's a warning sign of creating your own resistance yourself.
Does that help,
And
Achi, with your question?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, I think it covered. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Ajay, please
Yeah,
go
so
ahead.
I have a question regarding. So you talked about like conducting honest current status assessment. So like, what are the methods or matrices like that you found really uh, impactful or effective to find the like true level of readiness? I think if the organization is really ready to have the transformation or not.
Well, there are different methods of assessing your current state. For example, one of them can be dedicating someone to interview with different departments, and then extract the current workflows, and how can I say, assess the current state, see the desired state, and then see how many gaps do you have. Or one of the challenges in this step was the bias. How do you want to avoid the bias? Some of my interviews said that you should bring someone outside of the organization as well, as an external assessor. Then you compare your assessment with their assessments and find something in between. But if you are looking for a specific method or framework in the market, I'm not aware of them.
Yeah. Thank you.
So Ajay, you may look at the organizational development framework. So there are some of the well-known framework. I've been working with one of the European method called SEAM methodology, SEAM methodology. So it could be the equivalent, you know, for the OD practitioners across APAC region, but definitely that was born in France. And that is something to consider. That was a really valid question you raised because when we talk about assessing or evaluating their readiness, most of the time, again, we focus on the technology readiness and our digital infrastructure, and we easily forget about our people capability and competency. So
Yeah,
there
true.
are other assessment tools, which I'm not sure you possibly haven't joined us on the Workforce Insights session. We had a workforce session with D.S. Allen from Australia, and he's got a methodology. He developed a system that could allow the organization to measure that competency level from the lens of the human and leadership, that where we are at, and if we want to take these people with their level of the competency and capability, how the change management is going to be looking like in the next 6 months, for example. So
Yeah,
that is
because it can
something.
be very tricky.
It
Because
is.
if you just move forward and people are not ready, it will be a disaster. Like that's why
Yep.
this
Exactly.
question
Or
came up.
if the leadership is not a strong leadership, is not a quite efficient leadership. So that is where I can share the link for this Allen business. So there is a assessment tool, Zenistro, they use, and we are the partner of them in New Zealand. So that is something that I would definitely suggest. We need systemic approaches, considering also the human resource readiness. So that is really critical.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank
No
you, Fahmi, for
worries.
sharing this too.
No worries. And any other question we have got? We have got only 1 minute left in our session. So I'm sure that you can look up for Ali on LinkedIn. And if you have any other questions, um, I believe that he's going to be more than happy to catch up and answer any further
Absolutely.
questions.
Sure.
Yes. So yeah, I would like to thank you all joined the session today, and that was great to hear from your insights and your question. So as a follow-up on our session, you're going to receive the certificate and the CPD for your professional development unit that you can claim that one also. So the QR code is going to be included in your Informed Impact certificate. Thank you again for joining us and supporting us in this mission. See you
Thank you
next
Thank
very
you.
time.
much.
Thank you.
Let's
Thank
keep in
you.
touch. Have a good one.